Welcome back, everybody. Seth Kamens is over there. I'm Sean Palmer over here. Seth and Sean Sports on StreamYard and back sports page. Wow, I keep hearing a lot of feedback on your side. A little mumbling. Maybe it's.
I haven't said a thing yet.
No, I'm hearing the speaker from. Okay, now I'm not hearing it. All right. Well, there we go. Hi. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I mean, October 15th is right around the corner. How are we doing today?
My hair is gray and hasn't been cut in like 6 weeks. Luckily, I got Kansas City, Denver tonight on my third screen while I work. My kids may remember who I am. I'm not sure.
And they may not remember who you are too, and that may be okay too.
That could be okay.
So I want to start today. First of all, I really don't want to get into too much of what's happening in the NFL. The NFL is what it is. We do have a game tonight, but we talk about fantasy football all year long, and it's because we enjoy it. And one of the things I used to enjoy a lot was making trades. I used to love making trades. I used to love throwing out trades and hoping that people would either get suckered in some shape or form, or they'd actually enjoy the back and forth rather than think that I'm trying to sucker them at all times. Today, I accomplished my first trade in 2.5 years. I am kind of impressed by the fact that the trade went down, and I'm impressed that the trade is not a lopsided one. It was actually so my team has 2 quarterbacks. It's a 1-quarterback league. We have Kenny Pickett and Anthony Richardson. Okay. I loved Anthony Richardson coming in. I still do, but he's out 4 to 6 weeks. Kenny Pickett is on a bye this week. The best that was available was Bryce Young. The best available. Right.
In a 1 QB league?
Yeah. Not great. Not great. My tight end the entire year has been Zach Ertz, who has gotten a lot of targets, but probably not what you want to bank your fantasy season on.
No.
Okay. So my team, as I normally do, has a ton of running backs. I drafted Kamara, Tony Pollard, Alexander Mattison, and Bijan Robinson. So you play two running backs and a flex. In the free agency, I got Matt Breida, okay, Imari DeMarcado, Jaleel McLaughlin, and my wideouts, we play 2 wideouts. I have DK Metcalf, DJ Moore, and Jalen Waddle. So overall, it's a solid team. And having those 3 wideouts, I like having 2 fixed wideouts. I really don't like having to make the decision every week. And last week, I was lucky in that DJ Moore, who would have been on the bench, Waddle happened to be hurt. So you didn't have to have that juxtaposition. So here I am without a quarterback, having all these running backs, and my tight end being Zach Ertz. So I see a guy in my league, and I've been in this league 25 years, so I know the teams pretty well. I know the owners of the teams pretty well. So I went to a guy that is okay making trades. His running backs are James Cook and Jameel Gibbs. And his backups are Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Damian Harris. So he's in need, right?
Well, Sean, I need 2 minutes.
Yeah. So he's in need. He's in need big time. So I go and I look, and I'm like, all right. He also has Sam Laporta and Travis Kelce. So he's got 2 tight ends. And at his quarterback position, he's got Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, and Baker Mayfield. So he's got 3 quarterbacks. So he's got 3 quarterbacks. Sean needs a quarterback. He has 2 tight ends, 2 starting tight ends. Sean needs a tight end. He's got decent wideouts, at least 1 or 2 of them. So his wideouts at this point are Chris Godwin, Cortland Sutton, and Elijah Moore. And Christian Watson. So he's got enough backup. Seth, we ready? So he's got enough backup here. So the guy that I'm trading with has Kelsey and Laporta. So he's got 2 tight ends. He's got Burrow, Mayfield.
This is the longest freaking story ever.
Okay,
What the hell?
so the trade that went down, and you tell me how it goes. I give up Waddle, Kamara, and Zach Ertz. Okay? Waddle, Kamara, and Ertz. I get Laporta, Burrow, and Chris Godwin.
That's pretty good. I would take I like your side better.
I mean, I don't think it. I looked at it and I was like, this may be one of the fairest trade. It's really hard when you're trying to get a quarterback and not give up a quarterback, and give a running back and not give up a running back, right? And so I was willing to give up Kamara because I had all the depth in the world at running back, and he was willing to give up Burrow because he's got Mayfield and Justin Fields as his quarterback. And Seth is off for a little bit. So we made the trade. We'll see if it goes through. I see no reason why it wouldn't go through, given the fact that the two of us are sane people that like fantasy football. He is 2-3. I am 4-1. I just realized that Laporta did not practice today. That would be bad for me, given the fact that I do not have another tight end anymore. But you're back. So, but overall, it's the art of the lost trade, where I sent an original trade and got back a counter that wasn't, how do I say this? Zach-like.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way. Zach-like. It wasn't Zach-like. And that's a good thing. I mean, it's nice that one trade will probably go through in this league. And like I said, it's the first one in the league in like 2.5 years. I'm generally the only one that makes those trades. And I'm the only one that's looking. In our league, Seth, I don't see a trade to be made. I actually went and looked. The guy that has Justin Jefferson doesn't have any running backs either. So it's not like we could trade a wideout for one. We're really lacking in a running back. And
well, what happens when your number one running back is out for the year? Your number 2 gets literally demoted and traded into the same team as your number 3.
Yeah, that happens. How are your other teams doing? Your other 12 teams?
My other 12 teams. Well, let's see. My best team is my development league. I'm 4-1.
Okay.
And I lost my one game by 1 point. I'm 4-1, 3-2, 3-2, 2-3, 2-3.
Okay.
So I'm okay. I find that it's not been a fun year of it. There's been too many injuries. Everyone's getting hurt. I mean, I loved our team. I thought our team was sensational.
So let's move on a little bit to we didn't talk a lot about the Major League Baseball playoffs last week, other than the fact that I picked the Orioles to win the entire thing, and they are now out. As are the Dodgers out. As are the number 1 and number 3 seed in the AL are out. The number 4 seed is 2-1 over the number 1 seed, and the number 3 seed is out. So the Diamondbacks are in. And lately there has been talk of this layoff, right? This 5 to 6 day layoff for those teams that are the 100 win teams, like the Orioles or the Dodgers or even the Braves. Do you see this as a problem, or do you see this as just something that has to be dealt with and isn't going to change?
Sorry, you lost me. Say it one more time. Sorry, I apologize.
Okay, the layoff. So the top teams in Major League Baseball get a 5 to 6 day layoff.
Yep.
In some ways, that's viewed as a positive, right? Health-wise. In other ways, it's viewed as an extreme negative. And the repercussions of that so far, at least this year, are the Orioles lost, the Dodgers lost, right? The Braves are losing. So Strider's got to put up a good game tonight. Also, the Phillies will be in a commanding lead. By the way, if you're Bryce Harper, you basically just threw 2 middle fingers up at the entire Braves organization.
Yes, you did.
I loved. Look, Bryce Harper may turn some people off. Bryce Harper is a guy that I would love on my team. Seth, you got to run again. It looks like you're.
Give me 30 seconds.
All right. Seth is doing taxes today, as he is doing every other October 12th, given that the October 15th deadline is coming up. So he is going to be in and out throughout the entire show. Perfectly fine. That's just the way we are. So anyway, so we have our Major League Baseball playoffs, and right now we have the Diamondbacks as the 6th seed beat the Dodgers, the Rangers as the 5 seed beat the number 1 Orioles, and the number 2 seed Astros. So we have a matchup of Texas, the 2 versus the 5, and soon to be the Diamondbacks probably versus the Phillies, the 6 versus the 4. And my question to Seth I see the hands. Seth has become Italian. He's talking all with his hands.
Italian, Jewish, Italian.
It's all with the same guilt. We all got it. Whether the layoff is worth it. Is it worth setting up your pitching staff? I see the positives in this. I don't see the negatives. But
yeah, look, Baltimore is so young. Let's take this series by series. Baltimore is so young that it could just be it just seemed like the stage overwhelmed them a little bit. And I think Cedric Mullins has been there the longest. He's like 26. So, the Dodgers seem to happen to the Dodgers all the time. And the pitching didn't hold. Arizona, look, you can make arguments on either direction. Personally, I agree with you. I would rather get my pitching rotation ready to go and not be chancing losing in a wild card than getting the bye. But, Philly can beat anybody. We know that in any game. But Atlanta is still Atlanta. I would rather have the bye. I don't think 5 days off. It's not like the NBA Finals where you have 12 days off waiting.
Gotta tell you, it's still very strange to see the Rangers play the Astros in a playoff series, or any series for that matter. That the Astros are in the American League. I will say that forever. I understand it's like 15 years now, but it still is incredibly strange to see. And this may be the end of Clayton Kershaw.
We've said that for the last 3 years.
I know, but he gave up 6 runs in a third of an inning, Seth. It would be unfortunate that that's the end, if that is it. And for those that are hearing the dog in the background, I am dog sitting this week. So hence we have a dog.
You're dog sitting this week, so hence you have a dog.
I have a dog.
Profound, man. Very profound.
I have a golden doodle named Luna for 5 days. So all right. So we have these 2 series. We have the Rangers and the Astros, which will take some time to get going because we still are waiting on the Braves and the Phillies. But if you look at the Diamondbacks, they are the equivalent of those Baltimore Orioles, except 2 years in the future, right? And we're back. All right, Seth, go. All right. So Seth, this is hysterical. This is absolutely hysterical. Seth has to come and go, and based on this, and we should have done this at 8:00 when we could talk about the Chiefs and the Broncos, where once again I would say that the Broncos have absolutely no shot in this game. But we'll get to that. We'll get to those predictions in a little bit. But here we are, Clayton Kershaw, perhaps the last outing. But if we're talking about great jobs done, we have to look at Texas and Bruce Bochy. And Bruce Bochy may or may not have been a Hall of Fame manager before this, but I think you have to kind of put him in. If he gets to the World Series here, you have to put him in that discussion. And
he's won what, 3 World Series with San Francisco?
San Francisco, yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of managers in who have not won 3 World Series.
That's true. I mean, I think the equation with managers is a little different. So, would you like to guess on Bruce Bochy's winning percentage as a manager?
I would say around 520, 525.
So Bruce Bochy has won 2,093 games and has lost 2,101 games. He is exactly at 49%. So when you take the 3 World Series and then you take 49% winning percentage, does that matter to you?
Feels like if you win 4 World Series, I think you kind of have to go. But man, wow, I did not know that.
So Connie Mack, we know, is obviously number one, right, in wins.
Yes,
he won 48% of the time.
But Connie Mack was also revolutionary.
Hold on. I'm not done yet. He won 9 pennants. He won 5 World Series. Tony La Russa is a 53%, and he won 3 World Series. John McGraw, again, different time, right? 58% and won 3 World Series. Bobby Cox, 55% and won a World Series. Joe Torre. Now, Joe Torre managed some really, really bad Mets teams, right? I mean, really
horrible
bad teams. He had a 54% winning percentage, won 4 World Series. Sparky, 54%. Dusty, 54%. Joe McCarthy, 61%, not really counting. And Bucky Harris, who was like in the 1920s, won 49%. Bochy's next. Bochy has won 4 World Series and 3 pennants with a 49% winning percentage. So of the top 20 managers of all time in wins, you have Gene Mauch at 48%.
Never went to a World Series.
Never went to a World Series, not in the Hall of Fame. Bruce Bochy at 49%. And Bucky Harris at 49% and Connie Mack at 48%. Everybody else above 500. And by over 500, I don't mean like 501. I mean they're 52%, 53%. And then you have Jim Leyland and Buck Showalter at 51, and neither one in the Hall of Fame. So what is your criteria? I guess the question is, what is your criteria? Because when we get into this, then you go to the NFL, right? And you have Mike Tomlin, and you say, okay, Tomlin won a Super Bowl, right? What gets you in?
I've never really thought about coaches' criteria for the Hall of Fame, to be perfectly honest. I've got to imagine if you've won 4 World Series, because especially in baseball, it seems like a lot of managers do better on their second run, because the way you get the jobs is because the team you're taking over stinks. And it happens in all sports, to be fair. But baseball is typically the most close to 500, because there's so many games and it just kind of not singular game matters as much. God, I look like the crazy scientist right now. Jeez.
So to add some context, of the top 23 managers to win pennants, not World Series, all 23 are in the Hall of Fame, except for one, and that man is Bruce Bochy, who has won 4.
I think you're the better person to determine for this than me. Is Bochy a Hall of Fame coach manager to you?
He's got. I think part of it is a manager is only as good as the players that you got, right?
Yes.
You can't make them that much better. You can't. You can look. You can get them. I thoroughly believe a manager can do one of 2 things. He can either take a very, very young team and make them decent, right? So that's the teaching model, right?
Yep. That's
Or
Buck Showalter.
that's the Buck Showalter model. Or you have the Joe Torre model, which is I'm bringing a guy in. Let's say the Buck Showalter / Bobby Valentine model, right? And then you have the Joe Madden model. Then you have the Joe Torre model, where it's I need a guy that will put me over the hump, right? You call that the Steve Kerr model too, not the Mark Jackson model. So I think it's a matter of which one, and there's room for both. And I think Bochy is definitely more of the latter than the former, but I don't think he's I don't think he's the guy that brings along the young team. I just don't. I don't think he's been that guy his entire career. He had a very veteran team in San Francisco. He
Yep.
had a young team in San Diego and did nothing with them. And then now he's gone to Texas and has another veteran team and has done very well. So is he a Hall of Famer by the numbers? I think he has to be, but I don't like putting anybody in that's under 500. Like I just have a problem with it to begin with. And when you get to even players, like there are players in the Baseball Hall of Fame with under 500 record pitchers. Raleigh Fingers is under 500. Like there are not starters, mostly relievers, but they do exist. You call them the anomalies, right? You call them the Bill Mazeroskis of the Hall of Fame or the Harold
Yep.
Baines of the Hall of Fame, if you wish. But they do exist, and I'm not exactly all in on that, but I think that there is a place for them. Okay, so we have started the NHL season. That started 2 nights ago. I can't be more happy, except that the Islanders don't play until Saturday for some ungodly reason. And I'm
Their
actually
first game is on Saturday?
Saturday, yeah, against the Sabres. So I'm actually more excited about this year than in the past, and that's because your son has become a hockey fan. I am so thrilled that your son has become a hockey fan because, ladies and gentlemen, in about 5 years, Jake and I will be hosting this NHL preview, and Seth will just sit it out because he's like, I don't know anything. But my son knows it all, so I'll just talk to Jake. But look, if you're looking for team, and Jake is coming in at the right spot, right? I mean, he's a
As a
Devils.
Devil fan, I think it's it's the best it's been in 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and they are an exciting team, a really really exciting. Jack Hughes is going to be one of those guys. He really will. And Nico Hersher, if you're looking for a team that's going to remind you of the Boston Bruins, all they need is a goalie. That's all they need. This Devils team, all they need is a goalie. And unfortunately, Connor Heileback just re-signed with Winnipeg.
Yes, I saw 7 years, 56 million, something like that.
Him and Mark Chattel got identical contracts to stay in Winnipeg. But so, all right. So tell me, how many games do you think of the Devils you will watch this year? Give me an over/under.
Not many because it's on MSG, and YouTube TV doesn't get MSG.
So so my feeling is, for Jake's sake, you need to go get the MSG Plus package.
Marvelous. Hopefully there'll be enough games on ESPN and TNT, or TBS, whichever one gets
Dofu,
it.
my friend, Dofu.
Yeah. Look, they are probably the most exciting team in the NHL going into this season. Which
them or Edmonton. I mean, they are very similar teams too, in the fact that neither one of them has a damn goaltender that can stop a puck. But they may score 12 goals every game.
Yeah, with Timo Meyer, he's in Hersher and Hughes and Little Hughes, I guess Hughes' brother.
Hughes and Little Hughes.
Little Hughes, Luke.
There's a third Hughes, right?
John?
No, he's on Winnipeg. His name is Quentin.
That I did not know.
Quentin's the middle brother.
Gotcha. No, I mean, look, the division is solid. You have New Jersey, you have Carolina, who's excellent and is a favorite for a lot of teams to go. The Rangers are decent. The Penguins can't be any worse than they were last year. The Islanders, I don't know. I'll let you talk about the Islanders. And the Capitals are pretty solid. It's literally like, and then the last two teams, the bottom two, Columbus and Philly are nothing really to talk about.
Yeah, it's going to be. Look, the Penguins are what the Penguins are, and that is a offensive juggernaut that may not be able to stop the puck once this entire year. They already lost their first game.
Does signing Erik Karlsson help?
Yeah, Erik Karlsson helps for offense. He does not help at all for defense. He is the James Harden of the NHL. No joke. He is the James Harden of the NHL. This man cannot stop. It's basically a turnstile on defense, but can light it up on offense. And once again, Kyle Dubas in Pittsburgh is once again trying to maximize what you have in Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang. They got 3 more years. And then this team's salary cap is going to implode. And I will love every minute of it. But the fact is they are trying to do their best. The division is great. The division is going to kick the crap out of themselves as they do every year. This is the remnants of the Patrick division, what we used to, right?
The Devils, Rangers, Penguins, Flyers, Islanders, and Capitals.
Yeah, so if we're looking for if we're looking for a prediction on the league, prediction at least on the division, Carolina, in my opinion, is going to win the division. Carolina is the best team in that division, hands down, not even close. Top to bottom, best team. Now, again, this presumes everybody's healthy, and this is a presumption, especially with Carolina, with their goaltending. Their goaltending needs to be healthy. Number 2 is the Devils, and again, the Devils are very similar, except they don't have the defensive chops that Carolina does. So I'll take the Devils number 2. I want to take I hate saying this, but the Rangers are going to go number 3. The Rangers have the second best goaltending in the division behind my beloved Islanders. Shesterkin, it really depends on their young kids. And it's funny that I'm calling them kids because they actually are kids. They're 22 and 23. They're half our age at this point. But if the kids, Capo and Lafreniere, if they come back, this will be the third place team. If not, they have a lot of money sunk in that team, and that team's going to plummet out of the playoffs. But for now, I think they're number 3. And then you get into the wild card standings, and we'll get to those in a second.
This is kind of the combination of the Caps, the Penguins, and the Islanders are kind of in that mix.
Well, remember, the wild cards are between the 2 divisions. They're not just in that one division.
Right.
So you take the remainder of those. The Lightning are in trouble. I mean, Vasilevsky's out the first 2 months of the year, at least with a hip injury. And can they survive that? I'm going to say that they can, but I think that they're going to fall to third place. Maybe
you have Toronto. I know that you hate this word, but you have Toronto winning the division.
The funny thing is I have Toronto in the Stanley Cup Finals, and that makes me even more cringe.
I was going to say, good Lord.
I am cringing beyond
Look,
cringing.
Every year they're the Minnesota Vikings, the San Diego Chargers, the Dodgers won once. So you can't. That is the Toronto Maple Leafs over the last decade. They've
last decade, dude. They haven't won since 1950 something.
No, I know they haven't won since 1967. I get that, but they haven't been. How long were they relevant? Other than the Dougie Gilmore years in the early 90s, when were they relevant?
No, you're right.
Yeah. So they've been relevant the last 6 or 7 years.
Yes.
They just haven't done anything with their relevancy.
Well,
They've never gone to they haven't gone to an Eastern Conference final.
No.
They've blown 3-0 leads.
Right, but if you look at the thing about it is this division this year is built for them. Tampa Bay is going to take a step back without Vasilevsky. The Bruins, I don't know who's playing center for that team, but they're taking a step back too because they lost Bergeron and Krejci. And Omark is a question mark to begin with. Who else in that division is challenging them? Florida, maybe.
Florida's decent.
Ottawa, no. Buffalo needs to take a huge step if they're going to do it, which they have the talent, but they need to take that step. And they need, more importantly, goaltending. Montreal's not there. and Detroit's not there. This division is made for Toronto to win this year.
It's a walk. It seems like it should be a walkthrough.
Correct. And if you get the 1 seed, well, then that's a lot, right? Getting the 1 seed in the playoffs is a big deal in the NHL. Look, I would love for the Islanders to play that team in the playoffs. I think that would be it would either be painstakingly awful or one of the happiest moments of the last 20 years. But the fact is the Islanders are a team that can stop a team like that. They're not running, they're just hitting. So if I'm taking the standings for the Eastern Conference, at least in the Atlantic Division, I'm putting the Maple Leafs number 1. Let's go with the Panthers number 2, the Lightning number 3, and now you're into wild card central. And I'm going to put the wild cards as the Islanders sneaking in and the Bruins. And that leaves
Pittsburgh and Washington on the outskirts.
Pittsburgh and Washington on the outside. I could see Boston even falling out totally. That is a very old team with not a lot in the cupboard as far as centers are concerned. They lose a lot with Bergeron and Krejci now playing. And so, moving on to the West.
I'll move to the West. And
go ahead.
Look in the Central, and it's top heavy. You got 2 stud teams in Dallas and Colorado. Yeah. And then it feels like you have everybody else.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think you have a Nashville team that is rebuilding. Arizona, you never know where they're going. Chicago is the Connor Bedard show.
Yep.
The Wild could make a run because they always could make a run because they are.
They play that. Yeah, they always.
For the Islanders of the West, it's just we're just going to pound the crap out of you and hope we make it.
Hard to believe that it was only 2 years ago that the Blues won the Stanley Cup. Was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago?
3 years ago. But the thing about the Blues is the same as most teams. It's all about the goaltending, and Binnington has just not been.
He had the great run,
right,
in 2020 or 20, I guess in 2021, and got a nice contract, and just doesn't seem to have lived up to it.
Yeah, last year he went 25-7, but he had a 2.56 goals against, and his save percentage was .919. But the postseason just has not been there. Last year, 4-1. He had a good postseason, but the rest of them did not, and they split it with Ville Husso. I think the Blues will probably be 3rd in that division. So you're going Avalanche, Stars, Blues, and with the Jets maybe making a run for it with Heilenbach, and then you go to the Pacific, and the Pacific is just. It's nice. It's nice to see this division who we never get to watch on TV because
this division is pretty stacked.
Because we're asleep. We're all damn. This is the haves and the have-nots. You have San Jose, Anaheim, and Vancouver that are and LA. So you have the 4 teams that are really, really low. And then you have.
I thought the Kings have actually kind of built themselves up a little bit.
They haven't gotten there yet. They're still very young. And then you have the Kraken, the Flames, the Knights, and the Oilers. And I'll go with the Knights going first, the Oilers second, the Flames third, and the Kraken fourth. And so it's a matter of how that wild card is going to shape out. I'll go with so the division's going Colorado. So we had Colorado, Dallas, St. Louis. We had Vegas, Edmonton, Calgary, and the two wild cards being the Kraken and the Jets will be the 2 wild cards. Actually, I'm sorry. I'll go the Wild and the Jets. The Kraken sit out this year. So if you go ahead, Seth. Sorry.
No, so you've gone through your preview because again, I'm kind of anchoring this. I'm not going to give much of an opinion because I'm not really a hockey guy. But who ends up in your conference finals? For
So,
me, I'll go. I mean, mine is Carolina and the Devils.
okay, mine is, as I said, I have Toronto going to the finals. So I'll have Toronto against New Jersey. Um, it's hard because if Toronto played Carolina, I think Carolina would win. But I don't think Carolina gets through whoever they have to. And then in the Western Conference, I'll have Edmonton against Colorado, which would be fascinating.
That would be great. That was actually my matchup as well.
And I'll have Edmonton facing Toronto in the Stanley Cup. And look at that, a Canadian team winning a Stanley Cup for the first time in 25 years.
Is Grant Fuhr walking through that door?
No, but Lanny McDonald is. He's
go.
probably the one that's going to present that cup if they actually win it. The last,
I don't see a Calgary guy presenting to Edmonton.
He's the last Conn Smythe winner from a Canadian team.
There you go.
So I'll have Edmonton beating Toronto and saving me a lot of tears. The last time I cried over a loss was the Rangers winning the cup in '94 and no more 1940.
There you go. I'll go with Carolina over Colorado in the finals.
Which is a dichotomy of game. So Colorado lost their captain for the whole year, by the way. Not sure you knew that.
Yeah, Gabriel I
can never pronounce his last name. Gabriel cannot pronounce. And they are an offensive juggernaut. They do have Cole Maker, who is probably the Norris Trophy winner until he doesn't want to be
the next 3 years.
Yeah. At least. You could put him for the next 10, and he'll probably be in the top 5. But Carolina is a defensive juggernaut. It's the opposite. They're totally different teams. So I'd like to see that type. If you see Toronto versus Edmonton, it's just going to be up and back.
Oh, that'll be great. That would be
back.
It won't draw well in the U.S., but it'll be a much more fun.
Well, it also won't draw well because the games are going to start at 9 p.m. every night. I mean,
all right. So who's your? I feel like this is a no-brainer, but who's your MVP?
Connor McDavid. As there you go. It's like the Mike Trout, right? It's like I'll pick him until he stops losing it. Connor McDavid is your MVP. Who's yours?
Connor McDavid. I don't know how you go with anyone else.
All right. And your Norris Trophy winner?
Aren't I going with what do you call it? With Cole Maker?
Yeah, I think again, until he loses, I'll go with Cole Maker. Your Rookie of the Year, Connor Bedard.
Connor Bedard.
And who is your Vezina Trophy winner?
I'll give it to you.
Thank you. Yes. I mean, the last guy we had was Robin Leonard, and we traded him a year and a half later. We will not be trading Ilya Sorokin anytime soon. Considering
I heard the Devils are looking for a goalie, just out of curiosity.
I'm telling you, he's got a no trade clause, and he's not going anywhere. He signed an 8-year deal. He's not going anywhere. This is the guy that we will stake our claim to for the next couple of years. Look, the hockey season is one of my most favorite times of year. Right about now, when you have this is the equivalent of the March Madness month, right? We have hockey. We're going to have the NBA starting, and our NBA preview will be next week. So we'll have the NBA after the 15th. So we'll have the NBA preview. We have baseball playoffs, of which, quite frankly, I don't know if anybody really cares. It's sad, but nobody cares. And
I've been saying that for years.
I know, and it's sad every time.
And actually, they should, because there's new blood. Texas is new. Arizona is new. I mean, there should be some excitement about this.
Well, and I think, look, when I talk to my family in Arizona, there is excitement in Arizona. And when I talk to my friends in Texas, there is excitement in Texas. But this is not a national scene. Baseball when you had the Yankees and Red Sox, it was national. Nothing here is national. And part of that may be because there's no East Coast team. It may very well be. And the Orioles, as good as the story was, have very few players that you know. There's no Shea Otanis.
The only guys on the Orioles I know are Gunnar Henderson, and Adley Rutsch in the catcher.
Adley Rutschman. Yep.
I don't know a single pitcher I can think of, I except for the one who wasn't going to play, Dean Kremer, because his parent he was debating not playing because of his affiliation with Israel. Yeah, Cedric Mullins, I know, but I
This
mean,
is the second Cedric Mullins reference on this show.
yeah, go figure.
Cedric
I mean,
Mullins.
Aaron Hicks. I think Aaron Hicks is there.
Aaron Hicks is there. He missed the, and in typical Aaron Hicks fashion, he missed the hit and run, which gunned down Gunnar Henderson, and thus ended the rally. The Yankees can thank the Orioles for picking up Aaron Hicks. But overall, I think that's an issue in its own right, is the fact that while we continually say that baseball is losing fans, quite frankly, it's just not, other than the Braves Phillies, which is an interesting series and does have a lot going on. Bryce Harper is either going to make or break these playoffs. If Bryce Harper continues, if the Phillies continue, then the playoffs are somewhat interesting. They have a face, because right now the playoffs have no face, not one. Nobody on Texas, nobody on Houston, nobody. I mean, you could say it's Alvarez, you could say it's Bregman, but it's not. Nobody knows those guys except that you play fantasy baseball. Nobody. I mean,
no, people know Bregman because Houston's been in the World Series the last 5.
Okay, fair enough. But nobody knows him as more than he's the third baseman on that team. He's not a personality. If you look at Texas, you got Corey Seager and Marcus Seaman, who are
Corey Seager was sensational this year.
Right, but again, nobody realizes how good Seager was this year because he's playing in Texas. And if you go to the National League, again, nobody knows anybody on Arizona.
I know Corbin Carroll.
And you know Corbin Carroll because he's the Adley Rushman of the National League. Right. So you could name another Arizona Diamondback.
I can name one or two more. Ketel Marte is still there, right?
Well done.
Is Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling still there?
I don't think Randy Schilling is anywhere near a baseball team right now.
Good riddance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anyone else.
Okay. So I can name Zach Gallen, who's the top pitcher.
Who's the pitcher? Yeah.
Who's their top pitcher? Right. I can name Jordan Lawler, who is their phenom at shortstop. Christian Walker is their first baseman. And Tommy Pham, the ex-Met, is
Tommy Pham, who's been on every team in the major. He feels like the Jose Oquendo of the major leagues.
And you know what? He's in the playoffs again. He may be the Jose Oquendo, or he may be the Robert Horry of the Major League Baseball, where he just gets on playoff teams.
Yeah, but he doesn't win. He won with he doesn't. I mean, he was in Tampa.
He was in Tampa. He was in St. Louis. He's now in Arizona. Like he was in I believe he was in Oakland for a while. Like he plays, he gets on playoff teams. So anyway, but as I said before, there are no names. Now, if you bring in the Braves or you bring in the Phillies, now you got some names, right? You got Bryce Harper. You got the catcher,
Realmuto.
Realmuto, right. You got Zach Wheeler, right?
You got Castellano. You got Nick.
Now, if we go to the Braves, you got Ozzie Aviles. You got Acuna.
Well, but Ozzie Aviles is probably the least known guy on the team, except for he made the comments.
Well, and guess what? Now we know him.
You got Olsen, you got Tucker, you got Stryker, you got Fried.
Look at you naming baseball players.
Yeah. Is Chipper Jones still there? Is Dale Murphy
still there? Well, he moved throughout the first pitch. But this is like me naming tennis players.
You can name tennis players just like I can name baseball players.
Yeah, Coco. I don't know her last name, but I know Coco's her name.
Coco Gauff.
Coco Gauff. So anyway, so do you think right now the Phillies have the lead? Do you think Atlanta comes back, or is this is a done and done issue?
I think it goes to 5.
Okay.
I think Atlanta comes back.
Yeah. So, all right. Your Terps are 5-1. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
2-1 in conference. This week playing Illinois. who is 2-4 and 0-3 in conference. Is this a team that we're looking at top 25-ish, or is this a team that
They're
is
gonna,
playing a soft schedule right now?
well, they've played one good team in Ohio State, and they lost, but they lost by 20. But the game they were winning they were tied going into the fourth. They were outplaying them, and not saying this as but they were outplaying them through the first three quarters. One incredibly stupid pass by Tagliavolt.
The funny thing is, you have a tendency to root for teams that one stupid pass away.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't really know where to go with it. Yeah, that is the Eli Manning play. I understand.
And the Daniel Jones play.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, what can you even say about that offensive line? I don't even know.
Hold on. So I'm looking at your schedule. I'm seeing Penn State at home, and I'm seeing Michigan at home.
They can win one.
Either one a winnable game.
Yeah, they can win one.
So if you win one and you win the remainder of the games, you're winning. You're playing Illinois, Northwestern, my favorite, Nebraska, the national champion, and Rutgers.
10-2.
You're 10-2, and going to a New Year's
pretty good bowl game. Yeah, they got a shot. I mean, their defense. The reason they lost to Ohio State was Marvin Harrison Jr. Period. End of story. They couldn't guard Marvin Harrison Jr.
And not many teams can.
There's not too many teams in the NFL can guard Marvin Harrison.
Right,
Jr.
that's what I'm saying. Not many teams can.
I can't really. I mean, he was coming. I think he caught 10 for 170, something like that, in a touchdown. And the rest of their team had about a combined 125 yards. They had a pick six, which was the only reason that they were tied at half, and that Maryland blew their timeouts and they couldn't kick a field goal at the end. Maryland played well. They fell apart in the fourth.
Yeah.
But that they couldn't guard Harrison is not anything new for anybody. I thought they're a good team.
Look, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a top 3 pick in the NFL draft next year.
Yep.
I mean, it'll be 2 quarterbacks in him. That's how good he is. Or maybe 2 quarterbacks, a lineman in him. So maybe the top 4. But nothing to be ashamed of there whatsoever. But 10-2.
10-2 would be sensational.
10-2 gets you to bring Jake to a bowl game or no?
Depends where. No, I mean, considering my relationship with my wife right now, I'm not thinking we're going to a bowl game.
All right. Just making sure.
Unless it's the Pinstripe Bowl. Not going to happen. Okay. Which good. I mean, it's a Big Ten. It's a Big Ten team.
No, we're playing in the Pinstripe Bowl. You're not going to play there.
You guys are 4-2.
We are 4-2, and we play this week against Florida State, which means we're 4-3, and then we face Tech, Boston College, Pitt at Yankee Stadium in a preview of whatever, and then Georgia Tech, and then Wake Forest. So I mean, we're 1, 2, 3, 4. We're 4-2 right now. If we get 7 wins, I'll be happy. Which is sad when it comes to football, but that's just what it is. And
that is the Dino Babers era.
It's better than 3-9 or 3-8. I mean, I'll keep taking Pinstripe Bowls every day because it means
it's an excuse for you to come up.
Well, and it's also, hey, you know what? We're not a football school, and we never will be.
No.
But we're successful enough that we're still on the map, right? What Syracuse and Maryland both need to do is to keep themselves relevant in both sports. They have to do that for survival, if nothing else. So 7-6 and a Pinstripe Bowl, while not fantastic, and I don't love it, keeps me relevant on New Year's Day. And that's really all I need. Okay, we're going to wrap up 5 minutes early. Seth, any last comments on the 5 minutes?
I'm Yisrael High.
Indeed. It has been a really, really disgusting week in the world. And it once again brings us back to the fact that everybody that's watching this show, I can't imagine anybody in Israel is watching this show today, but
Probably not.
Let's say the majority of the people, if not all the people that are watching this show, take their freedoms for granted every day. I think we just do. We take safety for granted every day. We are not put in harm's way every day unless we choose to put ourselves in that. And Israelis, look, I'll throw Palestinians in there too, because not all Palestinians are part of Hamas. And that is definitely not, that is not a corollary. That is not, if you are one, you are the other. That is definitely not where you are. And that region is just screwed up in so many different ways. And I hate to say it, there'll never be peace in that. Never. And it's hard to understand the hatred that people have for each other. And I just won't get it. So at the same point that Seth said, Am Yisrael Chai, and our prayers go out to those that are affected. That's about the only thing that we can say on that. So have a great week, everybody, and we'll be back next week with our NBA preview. Adios.
Thanks so much.
Yep, see you. Bye-bye.